Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. You probably heard this because Pete told you yesterday and it was all over everywhere, but The Undertaker appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast to talk about his career, conspiracy theories, and just having goddamn guns and knives in your bag at work. Like a man. To be honest, it made him sound less like the dead man and more like a Civil War era ghost, because when men were men, men had guns. It's almost as if not letting him talk out of character for years was a good thing. On the podcast, he slammed the stars of today, calling the entire business soft, and saying that when you walked into a locker room now, you just see guys playing video games and effing making sure they look pretty. Oh yeah? So what was Flair up to then? Or was he putting on his fake tan with a switchblade? And obviously this didn't go over well with current talent, and we can't say for sure if this was a response to what Taker had said, because no names were mentioned, but we can be sure that Xavier Woods, the king of games, was definitely responding to the matter with this tweet. I wouldn't be the person that I am without the guidance and lessons of a few key people from the previous generation of wrestling. They taught me about the business, to save my money, and that having video games in the locker room is healthier than having redacted. Thank you guys. I mean, and he's right, because the locker room culture has transformed drastically over the last few decades and is a much more welcoming environment than before. Probably because we got rid of all the guns and knives. And look, there is obviously a long way still to go, as last year definitely proved in the wrestling industry, but with people like Woods leading the charge, hopefully things can only get better. Speaking of the goings on backstage in WWE, what about WWE Backstage? The one with a capital B, you know, the cancelled Fox Sports show. Well, it was canned in June last year with the caveat that it will return for one-off episodes around special events. And we got one in October, and we're getting one the weekend of the Rumble. WWE hyped the show, saying Renee Paquette, WWE Hall of Famer Booker T, and Paige will host the preview for one of sports entertainment's most exciting nights. Now, some important information was missing from that announcement, of course. Number one, what happened to Renee Young? And number two, where is CM Punk? Because Punk made multiple appearances on the original format of his show, so his omission here is notable, but maybe WWE have just grown tired of him trolling them with his opinions. Because when he was asked on Twitter who his favourite WWE superstar of 2020 was, Punk said Goldberg, smartest man in the room. Goldberg of Headbutts Lockers fame. Hey guys, thank you for your support on Patreon, the $100 man CD Horver, and RK, the K stands for the coolest dude ever. So it is under 10 days until the Royal Rumble, people, the bestest match of all the best of matches. The Rumble brings with it the promise of opportunity for any star on the roster. The idea that they could book their ticket to WrestleMania by slinging someone over the top rope and being the last wrestler in the ring, which is basically never what actually happens, is it? Because you see, that's the thing you got to be on the lookout for. You've got to stay alert in Rumble season, because any little sign or signal from WWE might actually be a clue as who's going to win the whole thing. So long as they don't decide to just bin all that prep on the day and then just go with Charlotte Flair. What am I talking about? They've always been prepping Charlotte Flair. One potential clue though, probably not because Charlotte does exist, is that WWE have just dropped a trailer for a special Chronicle episode on the network that looks at Bianca Belair. It goes live this Sunday, 1 week from the show, and is laser focused on Belair's pure talent and the fact that she won't ever settle for second best. It's not like they're desperately trying to spotlight a character they've been underusing before she wins a Rumble, if you ask me. I mean, make of that what you will, but Bianca and Sasha at Mania is a big yes please from me. Someone who I wonder if we'll see during the course of the Rumble event is Aleister Black, who's been missing in action since October following a series of matches with Kevin Owens. Now, Black was drafted to Smackdown, but it looks like he sort of got lost in transit because he never actually showed up. Well, PW Insider have a slight update on that. They said, I was told he was purposely pulled from television so he can come back and have a big dramatic debut for SmackDown, and it just hasn't happened. My feeling is maybe the stuff with his wife Zelina might have led them to saying, hey, let's wait a bit, let's let the waters kind of calm. Since Sting's return to AEW at the Winter Is Coming episode of Dynamite, his intentions haven't really been all that clear, other than he must have some sort of weird fascination with TNT champion Darby Allin, as he keeps saving him from beatdowns and making entrances with him. It's probably a face paint thing. He thinks it's a kid's birthday party. And after finally getting physical and finally using the bat, which he should have done the first flipping week of television, to help Darby retain his TNT Championship on Dynamite, it's now been revealed that Sting will be returning to the ring himself. Because a challenge was laid out on Dynamite for Team Taz's Brian Cage and Ricky Starks to fight Darby and Sting in a street fight, which has now seemingly been accepted, as AEW has tweeted out the match announcement, which will now take place at AEW Revolution in February. This is the first match to be announced for Revolution, and it's currently unknown whether this will be some sort of cinematic match in order to protect Sting, or whether it will just be a straight up match with the street fight and other competitors being used as kind of smoke and mirrors. You can use a lot of bat in street fight, can't you? And not a lot of wrestling. More bat. I wonder what noise it's going to make when Brian Cage gets hit with a bat, like tapping a tree with a twig. This is going to be Sting's first match since Night of Champions 2015, where he picked up his supposedly career-ending spinal injury against Seth Rollins and a particularly solid turnbuckle. Interestingly, despite Americans having something else on their mind on Wednesday night, they still tuned in that evening to watch them graps, with both NXT and AEW seeing increases in viewership from the previous week. Dynamite managed an average of 854,000 viewers with a 0.36 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is good. An increase of 92,000 viewers from last week, interestingly, while NXT scored 659,000 viewer average with 0.15 rating in the 18 to 49 demos, and that's up 108,000 viewers. But we may see the viewers swing even more in favour of AEW if they get their way on a brand new trademark. Because on top of filing the trademark Too Sweet earlier this week, an endeavour that's definitely gonna work out for them, AEW have also filed another trademark, this time for the name Battle of the Belts. Now, based on the information provided in the trademark filing, it looks like this is gonna be the name for some sort of programming, possibly a special Dynamite episode, as AEW have their Big Four pay-per-views seemingly set in stone. And this isn't the first time Battle of the Belts has been used, as Championship Wrestling in Florida in the 80s used the term for a string of shows, while ECW and WWA ran a show with the same name in 1993. Cody loves a bit of wrestling history, doesn't he? So gonna hoover them up. Too sweet. So like I said, we covered the news that Undertaker was on Joe Rogan's podcast in yesterday's news, and we did snip out the juiciest bits of info from there. But there is a whole other 2 and a bit hours of chat, so I guess what else does he talk about? Well, fortunately, former housemate Simon Longdon, has watched it all, so you don't have to. Over to you, Si.
So The Undertaker has gone on the Joe Rogan Experience for 162 minutes. So, yeah.
I'm hoping that when Biden comes in, they're going to go, well, we realized that lockdowns are not really good. It doesn't really help.
Again, minute 42 in. We've started here.
But he's a savage to the end.
Yeah, it's
Still
crazy.
Going.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Modern medicine, it's phenomenal, man.
Modern medicine's phenomenal. Only about kicking, though. Not about pandemics and, coronavirus.
It's a lot different. I remember walking into my first real dressing room, and I also were some crusty men, right? Like half of them had guns and knives in their bags, and
that's bad.
The guys playing video games and making sure they look pretty, and
the guy puts on more eyeliner than Liza Minnelli. I mean, what are we talking about? The Undertaker is like the last remnant of a really camp age of wrestling. What an odd thing to think. And what's wrong with playing video games? What issue of the sufficient nature does the Undertaker think is worth stopping playing video games so they can have a gun knife fight?
He's a veteran. And I'm like, I'd have probably got my ass kicked. He'd have probably took me down. And
so again, it's another hard man story from Undertaker in which nothing happened.
I could go hide behind a car right now and just tee off on him. No one would care.
Bet you don't.
And no one would know.
I bet you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't do it because
That's how people die.
Yeah, that's how people really, And there would have been me on camera somewhere. And
Oh yeah, like the cameras and stuff. Yeah, you don't want to. I don't think the Undertaker's ever been in a fight. Oh, I could have taken it, but he was over there, and it was a northeasterly breeze, and you should never throw punches in a northeasterly breeze. You know that, Joe, better than anyone.
You enjoy it as a fan, or is it like, are you too close to it?
I try.
We're all trying, mate. We're all trying.
Mr. Davis, feels like you forgot about me after TLC. After your issues with arithmetic.
Cheated me out of the championship.
You should be taking more tender loving care of how you do your maths. After having your jabroni and crony Luke Owen rule in your favour throughout the entire night. Well,
The steel stops now.
because I am invoking my automatic rematch clause for the Royal Rumble, and I will be taking the championship for the Fakador Army. Don't ask me how it makes sense, it just makes sense. And soon, everything will make sense, because soon,
Everything will be Fakador.
several WWE contracted stars have criticised the company's booking. Press the video on the right to find out the full story, and press the video below that to watch the latest episode of Actually Good over on No Rolls Barred, where Luke takes a look at whether Cluedo, or Clue to our American friends, is up to scratch. Subscribe here for daily wrestling news. I've been El Fakador Laurie Blake. Jam that jam.